This hymn is written by Swamiji Maharaj, and he explains, you have no friends in your surroundings. Why are you sleeping in the middle of these cheats? Be wide awake and experience love in the satsang. The Master will color you in the perfect Naam. Riches and passions will not help you. They can leave you in a moment. The pitch dark night is ahead of you. Do something useful in the day. You will not get this human body again, and you will be cycling through the wheel of 84. Serve the Master and please him. This is how you should lead your life. Accept Master, nobody is yours. Instill these words in your mind. Do not entangle yourself in the world of Maya. Be in constant touch with the music of the spheres. Understand this lesson. Don't delay. Who knows what will happen in the next moment? This way Swamiji is imparting the lesson. Its message is contained within one line. मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। पड़ा क्यों सोवे, पड़ा क्यों सोवे इन ठगियन में। मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। चेत कर प्रीत करो सत्संग में, चेत कर प्रीत करो सत्संग में। गुरु फिर रंग दे नाम अरंग में, गुरु फिर रंग दे नाम अरंग। मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। पड़ा क्यों सोवे, पड़ा क्यों सोवे इन ठगियन में। मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। धन संपत तेरे काम न आवे, धन संपत तेरे काम न आवे। छोड़ चलो ये छिन में, छोड़ चलो ये छिन में। आगे रैन अंधेरी बारी, आगे रैन अंधेरी भारी। काज करो कुछ दिन में, काज करो कुछ दिन में। मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा कोई मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। ये देही फिर हाथ न आवे, ये देही फिर हाथ न आवे, फिरो 84 बन में, फिरो 84 बन में। गुरु सेवा कर गुरु रिझाओ, गुरु सेवा कर गुरु रिझाओ। आओ तुम इस ढंग में, आओ तुम इस ढंग में। मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। पड़ा क्यों सोवे, पड़ा क्यों सोवे इन ठगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। गुरु बिन तेरा और न कोई, गुरु बिन तेरा और न कोई। धार बचन ये मन में, धार बचन ये मन में। जगत जाल में फंसो ना भाई, जगत जाल में फंसो ना भाई। निस दिन रहो भजन में, निस दिन रहो भजन में। मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। पड़ा क्यों सोवे, पड़ा क्यों सोवे इन ठगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। अब ही समझ देर मत करियो, अब ही समझ देर मत करियो। ना जानू क्या हो इस पन में, ना जानू क्या हो इस पन में। समझाए कहें राधा स्वामी, यूं समझाए कहें राधा स्वामी। मानो एक बचन में, मानो एक बचन में। मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में। पड़ा क्यों सोवे, पड़ा क्यों सोवे इन मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं, मित्र तेरा कोई नहीं संगियन में.
Dear brothers and sisters, I'd like to wish everyone a very, very happy Easter. For those of our Christian friends who are celebrating Easter, and for those of our Jewish friends who are celebrating Passover, this is that time of the year when we focus on Lord Jesus Christ. We look at the teachings of Jesus Christ and we try to put them into our lives. As we look at the teachings of the great saints, we find that they all wanted us to live a life in which there was a spiritual message to us. As we look at the teachings of Lord Jesus Christ, something comes out loud and clear, especially today, in this kind of economy, in this kind of age, when there's a global financial crisis, when it looks like those who were barely making it are having a very, very difficult time because millions have lost their jobs. Those who were reasonably well-to-do are finding it difficult to put food on the table. Those who are very rich have to make changes in their lifestyles because financially things are not what they used to be. And when we look at our lives, we find that we're always searching for wealth. We get up in the morning, we go to work. Whether we work for someone else, whether we work for ourselves, whether we go and teach, we spend anywhere from 8 to 12 hours at work. And then for the work that we do, for whatever profession we are in, at the end of the week or the end of 2 weeks or in a month, we are paid some money. We might be paid in dollars, we might be paid in euros, we might be paid in rupees, but it's currency that we are paid. And when we look at money, what is it? It's like paper. It's paper with something printed on it. And what do we use it for? For commodities, for services, for objects. And so it's like bartering our currency, our paper, for things that we get. And what do we generally get? First of all, we get things for ourselves. We want clothing, we want food, we want a place to live in, we want the amenities of life, we want transportation. And so these are things that we need on a daily basis just to survive. And then we find there are other needs. Needs might be that we live in a community, so taxes need to be paid. This is also the time of the year when April 15th is coming. Everyone's worried about, looking at the finances, filing the taxes. There's a little joke that says there are only two things in life which are permanent: death and taxes. We have to deal with them. Everyone has to deal with them. And so some of the currency is going and paying taxes based on wherever we live. And also we might want services for the body. Let's say we get sick, so we need to go to the doctor. We might want to keep the body fit and get a personal trainer for ourselves. We might need to go to a place where they can take good care of the body, let's say a spa or something, and so we services that we get. In life also, as we pass by, you might need some legal help. You might be buying a house, you might need a lawyer's help, you might need other professional help from an accountant, especially at this time of the year. And so for their services we pay. And so if we look at what we do all day, it is to just take care of our day-to-day activities, of our mundane things. And then as we shop, there are things that we like. Whether we need them or not, we buy them because they look good to us. How many times have we gone and bought things that we later on realize have not made any difference, but on the spur of the moment, it looked very beautiful to us, very enchanting to us, very intriguing to us, and we bought it. And as we accumulate wealth, or what we think we are accumulating, what is very interesting is to look at what the saints have talked about the wealth of this world. You know, the teachings of Jesus Christ say the following. Says we should not lay up for ourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust can corrupt them, or that thieves can break through and steal them. The treasure that we think we are getting here, Jesus is saying that we should not lay up for ourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust can corrupt them. You know, we buy things, and as we grow older, we all know how many things we get that we don't use. Things rust, things get changed. And then he also says, or that thieves can break through and steal them. Things that we're afraid we'll lose. And all of these things, what happens to them at the time of our death? They all remain here. Whether it be a house, whether it be a jewelry, whether it be our property or our bank balances, they're all going to be here. And Jesus is saying that we should not lay up for ourselves treasures on earth, that these are what we think are the treasures of this world. In this world, we feel to be wealthy is to accumulate possessions. To be wealthy is to have more things for ourselves. And then he goes further on to say, he says, instead, we should lay up for ourselves treasures in heaven, which cannot be destroyed by the rust of ages or cannot be stolen. So what are these treasures in heaven that we should be going after? You know, we don't know where heaven is. We haven't even seen heaven. We don't know what is out there. So how do we go for the treasure? Now, what are these treasures that are being talked about that will never be destroyed, or which cannot be destroyed by the rust of ages or cannot be stolen? And as we start to look at our life, and as we look at life and see how life is led by various people, experiences of passing through life make us gain a lot. Today, as we look back and as we want to talk about spiritual riches, or we talk about riches in heaven, you know, our thoughts always go to the lives of the great saints and mystics. And we start to see how they led their lives. Jesus went on the cross for whom? Not for himself, but for everyone else. Why? Because he loved them, because he cared for them. And that's the kind of life that he would like us to live. When we look at the life of other saints and mystics have come in many, many traditions, in all faiths, all parts of the world, all religions, all cultures. And we look at the lives of the great saints and mystics, we find that each and every one of them lived not for themselves, but to make the life of everyone else better. Why? Because in themselves, they love God. In themselves, they realize that this creation is created by the Lord. In themselves, they realize that each and every one of us here is a reflection of God, is a part of God. They realize that everyone and everything that we meet here comes from the same source, and so their vision was such that they saw the goodness in each and everyone that we met. Most human beings, rather than seeing the goodness in others, are looking at what they feel are flaws in others. Because we feel that they are different than us. And anyone who's different than us, let's say they dress differently, they speak a different language, their cultures are different, their understandings are different. As we interact with them, we feel, they're not right. Because we feel we've lived our life, we know a lot, Everything that we do, the way we dress up, what cultures we have, the way we speak, the way we eat, the way we behave is all correct. Everything else we think is wrong. And so as human beings, most of us are only looking at that side in others, which is different than us. And as soon as it's different, we say, this is not like me, and we walk away. But when you look at the life of the saints and mystics, you see all kinds of people surrounding them. The rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated, people of all faiths. Because when you look at the lives of these saints, they came in all traditions. They did not come to start a new faith. It was actually their followers who took the teachings and started another faith. Because when you dig down and look into the teachings of all the faiths, they all talk about God, they all talk about union with God, they all talk about love, they all talk about living peacefully and calmly. And so these saints came to uplift humanity. And if we are celebrating Easter today, then we need to focus on what the message of this great saint was. That we need to live in love. We need to focus on leading a life in which kindness goes to others. Because how do we express love? Love in our thoughts, love in our words, and love in our deeds is expressed as kindness. As like selfless service, as an extended hand that helps someone else. And as we pass through life, what is very interesting is that as science is doing more and more research, it is coming to the conclusion that what the saints said thousands of years ago makes a lot of sense. You know, in the last 25, 30 years, there's a new field in science called the field of near-death experiences. Doctors have been accumulating data on those people who came close to death, who experienced death, who were away from the body, and who started to talk about their experiences. The first book that came out on this subject came out in 1978. It was by Dr. Raymond Moody. It was called Life After Life. And since then, there are hundreds of books on this subject. Some by doctors and researchers, others by those who had the experiences themselves. And what is very interesting is that there's a tremendous commonality in their experience. They all talk about being in a trauma. Many talk about being on a surgical table and finding their existence away from the body. They could see the nurses, they could see the doctors work frantically on the body, but no one could see them. They could hear everything that was going on. And then many talked about going through the walls of the operating room to areas far beyond, hundreds of miles away, because they talked about who they saw, what they were wearing, what they were doing, and it all corroborated well. And then they talked about being gushed through a tunnel and came to a region of tremendous light. Light like they had never experienced before. And then many of them talked about having a life review, being in the presence of a being of light. Some of the people equated the being of light to the founders of their religions. Others equated the being of light just to some being of light. But many talked about a life review. And when they had a life review, what was very interesting was they said that they could very quickly see and feel whatever they did. Not only could they see what had happened, they could feel the reactions of what they did. So if they brought some happiness to someone, they could feel the joy that came into the life of someone else. If they brought pain to someone, they could feel the pain themselves. But what was very interesting was that irrespective of whatever life they lived, they were all loved by the being of light. And they said that that love was so tremendous that they did not want to come back. But it wasn't their time to go, so they came back into the body and started talking about their experiences. And they were made to understand that the law of the universe was the law of love. That when we gave love, then we received love in return. And when we gave pain, then we received pain in return. And that's what karma is all about. Karma, the theory of karma says that for every thought, word and deed, we are held accountable. So if we have good thoughts and good words and good deeds, then we are rewarded. And if we have bad thoughts and bad words and bad deeds, then we are punished. And so it's like a law of tit for tat. Like as we sow, so shall we reap. Because every thought, every word, and every deed are very, very potent. And this is why when we have good thoughts, then we have good words. And when we have good words, we have good deeds. So how do we get to good thoughts? When our understanding is right, when our understanding is correct. Because if our understanding would be correct, then our thoughts would be correct. And then every other aspect would fall into place properly. And so when we look at the lives of great saints and mystics, just like Jesus Christ is saying, that do not make treasures in this world. Many others have said something very, very similar. Kabir Sahib, who's one of the foremost saints coming from the East, who wrote much about spirituality, he says in one of his verses, he says, and this is in Urdu, he says, हम जाने थे खाएंगे बहुत ज़मीं बहुत माल ज्यों का त्यों ही रह गया पकड़ ले गया काल. So when we translate this into English, it would be, I had thought I would enjoy extensive lands and much wealth, but I found it was all left behind and death carried me away. We all think like to accumulate treasures of this world is what will make us happy. But when you talk to those who are very, very rich, you find, because there are many, many surveys that have been carried out, it's not that riches makes one happy. Those who accept life as it is are the ones who are the happiest. And those who are always clamoring for more are always in turmoil. And so it's a question of being able to get to a state where we realize that happiness is not going to come to us from anything on the outside, because everything of this world is temporary. And so when we start to talk about spiritual riches, what is it that we have the most? The saints tell us that the foremost capital that God has given us is time. We all have time in this lifetime. We've been given a number of breaths, and they correlate to years and months and weeks and hours and minutes and seconds. And that's our capital, because each and every moment is very, very special. If we put it to right purpose, then we will get to our goals. Our goal in this life is to truly know ourselves and to know God. That is what self-realization and God-realization is all about. Now we need to know who we are, we need to know what is our purpose in life, we need to know where are we going, and then we need to know how to get there. If we don't know who we are, then we would not know where we want to go. If we don't know what our goal is, we will never be able to get there. And so first to realize who we are is important. Most of us think of ourselves as the body. But we all know the body will perish. We all know that with time, physical death is going to come to us. But is that the end of our existence? The saints tell us no. It's just a changing of a vesture for our soul. Our true self is not the body, it's just a vehicle that we have while we are passing through this lifetime. That our soul has lived before and it will live afterwards too. And that we all have a place in heaven to go to. And so saints are telling us, let us do these in this lifetime which will make our afterlife better. Now, how do we get there? By leading a life of love. As we start to think about loving God, because we can't see God with these eyes, we can hear God with these ears, then how do we get to love God? The first thing is to experience God. If we can experience God, then we would be able to love God. All tradition tells us that God is everywhere. God is within each and every one of us. God is not just residing someplace in outer space. And so for us to know God, we need to invert. But what do? We spend all our time in the world outside. We need to cleanse layers after layers which are covering our soul so we can get to the truth. But instead, we are so enamored by the objects of this world, and we're so entangled and intrigued by them that all of our time, all of our capital is lost in just pursuing those. There's a very interesting story about a person who was out of job. And he was looking for a job far and wide and did not find one. And so one day he's going through, it looked like farmland to him. And he sees like beautiful corns coming up and all kinds of things being grown. So he looks around and gets to the owner of the farm and he says, I'd like to get a job. So the farmer says, okay, I can give you a job. I have other farms. And he tells him, shows him where the farms are. He says, I want you to go there and I want you to spend a whole week. And I want you to go and take the weeds out of all the flower beds which are there. And then bring the weeds to me, and depending on how many weeds you bring, I'll pay you money accordingly. So the person's very happy he got a job. And so he goes to the area and he sees there are beautiful roses all over the place. Some red ones, some yellow ones, some pink ones, some white ones. And it's farms of roses after roses after roses. And he thinks to himself, he says, if I take the weeds out, where is the farmer going to sell them? How is he going to make any money? He's going to pay me for pulling the weeds out, but who's going to buy the weeds? So he says, I will pull the flowers out. So he starts to take the flowers out one by one. I mean, they're very, very beautiful. So he has one basket full of flowers, he has another one. He makes hundreds of baskets full of all these beautiful flowers. And after a week, he brings them to the farmer. So the farmer asked him, did you bring the weeds? He said, no, I brought you something better. So he said, they're all outside. So he went outside and he saw all the flowers. And so the farmer said, I told you to take the weeds out. What did you do? And he said, I did something better. I brought all these flowers to you. And the farmer said, I wanted the weeds out so that these flowers would grow more, so that I could get more money for them. And this is what happens to most of us too. This life is given to us to weed out the difficulties that are keeping our soul from knowing God. But instead of focusing on our soul, instead of leading a life in which we would put the virtues in our life more and more and more, we are leading lives in which we are entangling ourselves more in the world outside. And as that happens, we then are getting further and further away from being with God because we're putting more and more burdens on ourselves. The more we get entangled in the world outside, the more karma comes on our being, the more we have to deal with it. And so saints and mystics are always exhorting us to focus our attention in the right arena. As children, we all, especially in this country, would play Monopoly. Monopoly is a very interesting game. And I am sure many of you spend many, many hours playing Monopoly. And not only do you play it just for one day, the game doesn't end, you keep it for another day, another day, another day. As you are moving around, you're buying up a hotel, you're buying up a house, and you're charging rent to those who get there. And when you look at it, that's what happens in life. What do? When we get out of school, we want a job. As soon as you get a job, everyone says, better buy a house, values are going to go up. And we get one property, you say, oh, you need to get a rental property now. And in the end of Monopoly, what happens? Whether it takes 1 day, or 2 days, or 3 days, or 4 or 5, you fold the board and the game is done. No? And when we only lead our life in that manner in the world also, we, at the time of our death, have lost this golden opportunity. The game of a monopoly of life has been put out by what is called the universal mind. Our mind, which doesn't want us to know God, our mind, which wants us to be entangled in our world, our mind, which is a lover of enjoyment, our mind, which is derailing us from reaching our goals. There's another game which God has put out, it's called the game of love. It's loving God, loving God's creation, and leading a life of love in which not only are we happy, but happiness goes from us to everyone else. Loving not only other human beings, but all forms of creation. Sandarshan Singh Ji Maharaj very beautifully written about how we should be living a life. He says, and this is in Urdu, he says, Gale laga lo, har insaan ko ke apna hai, chalo, to raah guzaron mein baante hue pyar. He says, embrace everyone as your own and pass this life distributing the love of God freely. But how can we distribute the love of God if we don't have it? First, we need to experience it for ourselves. And that is where meditation comes into play. Meditation is nothing more than experiencing ourselves truly. Meditation is nothing more than experiencing God. Meditation is nothing more than taking our attention from the world outside and focusing it within ourselves and experiencing ourselves as we truly are. Meditation is not passive as most people think. Meditation is very, very active because it's a process by which we are unraveling the secrets of reality, of creation, of who we are and what our goals are and how do we get to our goals. And so saints and mystics are always exhorting us to experience for ourselves the realities of this existence. And so when we sit down to meditate, we withdraw our attention from the world outside. By looking for a calm and quiet place, we are withdrawing our sense of hearing so that nothing is distracting us. By sitting, even though hundreds of thousands of us can sit together and we can meditate, we make sure no part of our body is touching someone else so that if they get distracted, we are not going to get distracted. They're moving or they can't be still. We don't change the atmosphere. We feel, God created all of creation. Everything is heavenly. Everything is good. So there's no need to like incenses and nothing. So a sense of smell is withdrawn. We're definitely not going to eat as we meditate, so a sense of taste is withdrawn. And by closing our eyes, we withdraw a sense of sight. So by finding a quiet place and sitting down, we can withdraw these 5 senses. As we withdraw them, our sensory currents start to rise in the body, and they collect here at a spot which is between and behind the eyebrows called the single or the third eye. Now as we collect all our sensory currents there, then with help and guidance we can rise above physical body consciousness. There are regions after regions which are more ethereal, more conscious than the physical region of ours. And we can enter those regions. We see lights, we see skies, we see stars, sun, moon, and many, many other vistas within. It's very interesting that many saints and mystics have talked about the inner journey, and they talked about mansions, they talked about houses, they talked about places for us to be. Jesus has said, he said, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. So what does this mean? That in my Father's house are many mansions. Like there are regions after regions of existence between the physical and total consciousness. And he says, I go to prepare a place for you. Saints come into this world to help each and every one of us. They want us to get back to God. They want us to find our true home. It is we who are trying to find a house here in this world. These are all temporary housings. Just like, we live in a pretty mobile society, so we work in one city for a few years and there's a transfer of a job, we go someplace else, so we change our house. Okay? And even if we are in one place for all our life, when we physically pass away, we're not living there anymore, we're gone. But this, what is being talked about, is a permanent house, a house in heaven that is being prepared for us. Each and every one of us has a spot there. We need to get there. If we do those activities which are godly, if we love God with all we have, we love God's creation with all we have, then we will definitely be getting to the right mansion. There are many techniques by which people try to access the mansions within. Techniques of rising above physical body consciousness. In this human body, we have what is called chakras. There are 5 physical centers in the body. The Guda chakra, which is close to the rectum center. Indri chakra, which is close to the regeneration center. The Navi chakra, which is close to the navel center. The Hriday chakra, which is close to the heart center. And then the Kant chakra, which is close to the throat center. These are 5 physical centers from which this body is created. Then it's sustained. And then when our breathing stops or our heart stops to beat, we say the person has died. And so life is destroyed. And so there are many techniques by which people focus on one of these chakras, they focus all their attention, they try to raise it up. Some of the techniques are very, very difficult to do. They need extreme, rigorous physical practices. But as we collect our sensory currents, and let's say Guda chakra or close to the rectum center, then we need to raise it to the next chakra, to the Indri chakra. Then we need to raise it to the next chakra, Hriday chakra, the heart chakra. We need to raise it to the next chakra, the throat chakra. And then we have to raise it to what is called the Ajna chakra, or the eye focus, the single or the third eye. Because the soul is going to leave the body from the center. This is the gateway into the regions beyond. And so the saints in the Santma tradition ask us to not worry the 5 physical centers, but focus all our attention on the spiritual center. This is the seat of the soul. This is called the Dasma Dwar, or the Shiv Netra, or the single or the third eye. And so just like all day long, as we go through our day-to-day activity, we're not worried about how our breathing is coming, we're not worried about how our heart is beating. We just keep on doing what we are doing, and those systems are just working automatically. So as we meditate, we don't change those systems. We let those systems go normally. Instead, we withdraw our sensory currents, and as they collect here at the seat of the soul, we're able to then experience for ourselves vistas after vistas of divine light. So I'd like you to try a technique for about 5 minutes. And it's a technique of experiencing the divine light within. Please sit in any comfortable manner. You can sit in any manner, because this practice is purely spiritual. So the position of the body is immaterial, even though most people meditate sitting down. but you can meditate even lying down too. Lying down is more conducive to sleeping, so that's why sitting up is what most people use. But this is a purely spiritual practice. We close our eyes very gently, just like we close them when we go to sleep. So there should be no pressure on the eyelids or any part of the body. Our eyeballs should be straight, as if they're focused 8 or 10 inches in front of us. And as we close our eyeballs, we'll be bombarded by thoughts. Thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future, thoughts about what we did, thoughts about what we're going to do. The thoughts are originating from our mind. So what we do is we have the mind be focused on God by repeating some name of God. So repeat any name of God that you feel comfortable with, but repeat it mentally, not out loud, but just mentally. What that'll do is, it'll focus your mind on God, and so the mind will not have the energy to send thoughts to you. And in that state where the body is stilled and the mind is not sending thoughts to us, we'll start to experience light. In the darkness in front of us, light will sprout forth. It could seem like flashes of light, circles of lights, lights that are coming and going. Lights could be of various colors. It could be golden, it could be white, it could be red, blue, green, yellow, orange, or any other color. Now, whatever we see, let's focus in the middle. What is happening is that the light of God is not coming from the outside, it's within each and every one of you. As you concentrate, you experience the light. As you're distracted, you experience darkness, and so with time, as your concentration improves more and more and more, these lights to you feel as if they're stabilized. And then you go beyond the lights to a sky which in the beginning looked like it's cloudy, but then with time it clears up. And you see pinpoints of lights as if there were stars there. And if you experience that, then focus in the middle of the biggest and the brightest star. It'll give way for you to experience the inner moon. And as you lovingly gaze in the moon, you'll be crossing that too. And you get to the inner sun. And when we focus in the inner sun, those of us who are initiated in the mysteries of the beyond, we get to what is called the radiant or the ethereal form of a master. We get there, focus in the eyes, and then whatever is right for us is going to be unfolded. So I pray to God Almighty to help each and every one of us experience the divine power within. And as we close our eyes, let our gaze be right in the middle. These lights, which seem like they're coming and going, will stabilize, and you'll have many, many other vistas within. So we'll be sitting for about 5 minutes, and my best wishes are with each and every one of you. Please leave off. As we sit for a few minutes, we're able to withdraw our attention from the world outside. We're able to focus within. When you go to your homes, please sit and meditate for at least half an hour, and then you really get the benefits. On this happy Easter, let us remember that when we remember the saints, we need to emulate their lives. We need to focus on what their true message was. And as we try to look at the treasures, let's focus on the ones which are lasting. And the lasting treasures are all spiritual. The lasting treasures are those that will help us, not only this lifetime, for the life beyond. So I'm very, very happy to be here, and I pray to God to help each and every one of us keep our focus in the right direction, so that the capital that God has given us, which is the capital of time, is used by us very, very well, and that we are able to reach our goals very, very quickly. I'd like to end with a verse by Kabir Sahib. This talks about what we think we want to do and what we really do. Many times our intentions are very good, but we can't act on them. So he says, आज कहे काल भजूंगा, काल कहे फिर काल, आज काल के करत ही अवसर जासी चाल. So when we translate this into English, he says, today you say, tomorrow I shall repeat God's name. And when tomorrow dawns, you again say, the following day I shall repeat it. In this way, today's and tomorrows pass by, and we lose the golden opportunity. So let us not just think that we'll be repeating God's name. Let us not just think that we'll be looking for God. Let us not think that we'll meet God maybe later on, because we're very busy today. Because time just passes each and every one of us, whether we are president of a country, whether we are king, whether we're the greatest philosopher in this world, whether we're the greatest artist in this world. Time passes everyone away. So let us make use of the current time. The current time is very, very important. And it's my prayer to God that each and every one of us can be focused on God as much as possible, so that we reach our goal of knowing ourselves and knowing God in this very lifetime. Thank you very much.